Picture this. You're cruising down the highway in your pickup truck when suddenly, boom, your own vehicle becomes a death trap. What you're about to hear will shock you so much that you'll never look at certain pickups the same way again. We're talking about 12 pickup trucks that literally killed their own owners. And some were so dangerous that 3 American states completely banned their sales. Number 7 will leave you speechless. And number 12? Man, it still gives nightmares to the engineers who designed it. If you drive a pickup or you're thinking about buying one, you need to listen until the end. Your next vehicle might be on this deadly list. Let's start our countdown of death with number 12, the Ford Pinto pickup from 1975 to 1980. This monster was known as the walking bomb, and for good reason. It had a deadly flaw that turned every rear-end collision into a potential funeral. The fuel tank was positioned just 16 inches from the rear bumper with absolutely no protection. At impacts above 30 miles per hour, the fuel tank would rupture and explode like a bomb, creating fireballs that reached temperatures of over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. We're talking about over 500 confirmed deaths, but investigators believe the real number could be twice as high. 3 families sued Ford for $125 million after their loved ones were burned alive. Their bodies so charred that dental records were the only way to identify them. Internal Ford documents later revealed that executives knew about the problem, but calculated it was cheaper to pay wrongful death settlements than fix the design. The carnage was so severe that Montana, Wyoming, and North Dakota banned its sales in 1978. But if you think that's bad, wait until you hear about number 11. The Chevrolet CK series with side-mounted tanks produced from 1973 to 1987 earned the terrifying nickname Widowmaker. Unlike normal trucks where fuel tanks are protected inside the frame, these tanks sat outside the frame rails, completely exposed like sitting ducks waiting for impact. In side collisions, they didn't just leak, they exploded instantly, creating fireballs that could be seen from miles away. Over 1,800 documented deaths made this one of the deadliest vehicles ever produced. The most horrific case involved a mother in Texas who was burned alive in front of her children during a minor side impact at just 25 miles per hour. Her last words, according to witnesses, were screaming for someone to save her kids. The resulting lawsuit dragged on for 15 years, with General Motors fighting every step of the way until overwhelming evidence forced them to pay out over $400 million in total settlements. Speaking of design disasters, number 10 takes us to the Suzuki Samurai pickup from 1985 to 1995. This vehicle had a rollover rate 5 times higher than any other vehicle on American roads, earning it the deadly distinction of being more likely to kill you than protect you. Its dangerous height of 74 inches combined with a narrow width created the perfect recipe for death. The center of gravity was so high that at turns above 35 miles per hour, it would literally throw itself sideways like a mechanical suicide attempt. Emergency room doctors in rural areas began calling Saturday nights Samurai Nights because of the constant stream of rollover victims. Consumer Reports didn't mince words, calling it a killing machine that should never have been sold to the public. One emergency responder in Colorado told investigators he'd never seen so many decapitations from a single vehicle model, as the Samurai's tendency to crush its own roof during rollovers created a guillotine effect. Number 9 brings us to another Ford disaster, the Bronco 2 from 1984 to 1990. This vehicle killed over 800 people through rollovers, and it was so notoriously unstable that Ford dealerships themselves were afraid to do test drives. Can you imagine that? The people selling the vehicle were scared to drive it. The Bronco 2 had what engineers called a tipping point of just 43 degrees, meaning it would roll over on slopes that other vehicles could handle easily. An entire family of 6 died in Colorado when their Bronco 2 rolled over on a 25-mile-per-hour curve that had never caused an accident before. The father had just picked up the vehicle from the dealership 3 hours earlier. The widow's $52 million victory against Ford sent shockwaves through the automotive industry, but not before internal memos revealed that Ford engineers had nicknamed the vehicle Bronco Killer during development. But rollovers weren't the only way these death traps killed their victims. Number 8, the Jeep CJ series from 1976 to 1986 had a different method of murder: impalement. In frontal crashes, the steering column would collapse, and the steering wheel became a spear, literally piercing drivers' chests and puncturing vital organs. Over 600 deaths by impalement were documented, with coroners reporting that some victims were found pinned to their seats like insects in a collection. The most tragic case involved a father of 3 in Arizona who was found with the steering wheel pierced completely through his heart, his hand still gripping the wheel in his final moments. Investigators discovered that Jeep had received over 3,000 complaints about steering wheel impalement, but continued production for 10 more years. years. The horror was so widespread that Chrysler eventually paid $262 million in settlements, but only after families organized protests outside Jeep headquarters carrying photos of their impaled loved ones. Now we reach number 7, and this is where things get truly nightmarish. The Dodge Ram van pickup conversion from 1979 to 1993 had doors that opened by themselves during accidents, a phenomenon engineers couldn't explain, and Dodge refused to acknowledge for over a decade. Picture this horror. You're in a rollover crash, and instead of staying safely inside your vehicle, the doors pop open and eject you onto the asphalt at 60 miles per hour. The door latches were so poorly designed that even minor impacts would trigger them to release. Over 400 deaths by ejection were recorded, with victims thrown distances of up to 300 feet from their vehicles. The most heartbreaking case involved a teenager in Tennessee who was found 150 meters from the crash site, thrown from her vehicle like a rag doll. Her boyfriend, who survived because his door stayed closed, spent months in therapy after witnessing her ejection. Crash investigators noted that victims who were ejected had a 97% fatality rate, compared to just 12% for those who remained inside similar vehicles. Number 6 takes us to the Chevrolet S10 Blazer from 1983 to 1994, which had perhaps the most terrifying failure of all: brakes that simply stopped working without warning. The brake master cylinder would fail catastrophically, often while driving down hills or in heavy traffic. Imagine driving down a mountain road with your family when you suddenly discover you can no longer stop. The brake pedal goes to the floor like stepping on air, and death is rushing toward you at highway speeds. Over 350 confirmed deaths resulted from complete brake failure, with many accidents occurring on steep grades where drivers had no escape route. The most tragic incident involved an elderly couple in Oregon who plunged off a cliff when their brakes vanished completely. Their son later found maintenance records showing they had complained about soft brakes to 3 different mechanics in the weeks before the crash, but no one could identify the problem before it killed them. The skid marks at the scene stretched for over 800 feet, telling the story of their final desperate moments as they fought a losing battle against gravity and mechanical failure. But mechanical failures weren't the only killers. Number 5, certain Ford F-150 models from 1992 to 1996 earned the nickname Death Trap because of electrical defects that caused spontaneous fires. The wiring harness would short circuit and ignite the dashboard insulation, turning trucks into rolling crematoriums within seconds. Drivers would smell something burning, and within seconds flames would explode from the dashboard with such intensity that escape became impossible. Over 280 people died by fire in these vehicles, with many burned beyond recognition. In a cruel twist of irony, a firefighter in Texas died, burned alive in his own F-150, the very vehicle he trusted to get him to emergencies. His fellow firefighters arrived on scene to find his truck fully engulfed. Knowing their friend was trapped inside the inferno he'd spent his career fighting. Ford internal documents later revealed that executives knew about the wiring defect, but decided it would be cheaper to settle wrongful death lawsuits than issue a recall. Number 4 introduces us to a different kind of terror: the Toyota Tacoma from 1995 to 2000, known for acceleration hell. These trucks developed uncontrolled acceleration where the accelerator pedal would stick to the floor due to faulty floor mat design and throttle issues, sending the vehicle racing out of control while the helpless driver fought desperately to stop. Imagine the horror of trying to brake while your pickup accelerates by itself to 90 miles per hour, the engine screaming as it pushes you towards certain death. Over 200 people died in these runaway death machines, with crashes so violent that investigators often found brake pedals pushed completely through the floor by drivers' desperate attempts to stop. The most horrific case involved a family of 5 who perished in Nevada when their Tacoma raced uncontrollably into a concrete wall at over 80 miles per hour. The father's final cell phone call to 911 captured his terror as he screamed about losing control, the call ending with the sound of impact that investigators said haunted them for years. As we approach the top 3 deadliest pickups, number 3 brings us to the GMC Sierra from 1988 to 1998, infamous for developing the death wobble. This wasn't just uncomfortable vibration. This was a deadly phenomenon that made drivers lose total control, as the entire truck would shake violently enough to cause structural damage. At 55 miles per hour, the steering wheel would begin shaking so violently that it became impossible to maintain direction, with some drivers reporting that the vibration was so severe it cracked their teeth. The truck would literally shake itself to death, taking its occupants with it, as the violent oscillations made steering impossible and often caused mechanical failures in other systems. Over 180 people died from death wobble crashes, with accident reconstructions showing that drivers had absolutely no control in their final moments. Emergency responders reported finding victims with broken bones from being thrown around inside their own vehicles during the death wobble episodes. The problem was so severe and unpredictable that Alaska and Hawaii completely banned this model from their roads, making it illegal to register or drive them in those states. Number 2 takes us to more recent history with the Nissan Titan from 2004 to 2015. This truck earned the nickname Brake Genocide because its brakes would literally melt during normal driving conditions. The brake system would overheat until the brake fluid turned to vapor, and the brake pads disintegrated, leaving drivers with absolutely no stopping power whatsoever. Picture going down even a small hill and discovering your brakes have melted away, the pedal going to the floor while your truck continues accelerating downhill toward traffic, schools, or playgrounds. Over 150 people died when their Titans couldn't stop, with many accidents occurring in suburban neighborhoods where the trucks plowed through crosswalks, bus stops, and front yards. New Mexico prohibited sales after 12 fatal accidents occurred in just 1 month, including a horrific incident where a Titan with failed brakes crashed through a school crossing, killing 3 children and injuring dozens more. The brake fluid in recovered vehicles was found to have literally evaporated from the heat, leaving behind only residue and the smell of death. And now, the moment you've been waiting for, number 1, the deadliest pickup truck ever created. The Ram Pro Master pickup from 2014 to 2019 was nicknamed the Coffin, and once you hear why, you'll understand the terror that this name represents. This demon on wheels didn't just have one deadly flaw, it had them all, as if engineers took every deadly feature from the previous 11 trucks and combined them into one ultimate killing machine designed by the Grim Reaper himself. It rolled over like the Suzuki with even less warning, caught fire like the Ford but burned hotter and faster, had brake failures like the Nissan but more frequently, and doors that opened during crashes like the Dodge but with even less provocation. The electrical system was so poorly designed that it would randomly shut down while driving, leaving drivers powerless and helpless as their truck became an uncontrollable projectile. Statistically, if you drove a ProMaster for more than 50,000 miles, your chances of dying were 1 in 8, making it statistically more dangerous than serving in active combat zones. Over 400 people died in just 5 years of production, with accidents so horrific that first responders required psychological counseling after working ProMaster crash scenes. The carnage was so horrific and widespread that Vermont, Oregon, and Maine banned the vehicle entirely, making it illegal to sell, register, or drive within their borders. There you have it, the 12 deadliest pickup trucks ever unleashed on American roads, each one a testament to corporate greed, choosing profits over human lives. If you have any of these death traps in your garage, seriously consider trading today because your life and the lives of your loved ones might literally depend on making that decision. These aren't just statistics, these are real families destroyed, children left without parents, and communities traumatized by preventable tragedies. Let me know in the comments, have you ever driven any of these mechanical killers? Did you survive to tell the story? And if this video just saved you from buying one of these rolling coffins, hit that like button and subscribe, because there's plenty more shocking automotive content coming your way that could save your life. Until next time, drive safely, choose wisely, and remember, sometimes the most dangerous thing in your driveway is the vehicle you trust with your life every single day.